There is a particular kind of mystery that survives not because there are too many answers, but because there are too few. In Japan's mountainous Nara region, a short walk uphill from ordinary houses and streets, there is a giant carved stone hidden in a bamboo grove. It is not polished into elegance. It is not decorated with names or prayers. It does not tell us who commissioned it, who cut it, or who was meant to stand inside it. Instead, it simply sits there, roughly 11 meters east to west, 8 meters north to south, and almost 5 meters high, with 2 square holes carved into its top. Kashihara's tourism page repeats the familiar claim that it may weigh around 800 tons. But even that number is best treated as an estimate rather than a formally established measurement. Nicknamed the rock ship of Masuda, many have speculated about its true purpose over the years. Is it some type of complex sundial? A remnant of an advanced ancient civilization? A celestial vehicle discussed in Japanese mythology? Or something else entirely? According to the village of Asuka, where the stone is located, the true purpose of the rock ship may never be uncovered, as no surviving document tells us exactly what it was for.
Welcome back to Let's Get Haunted
With your hosts,
Nat Strawn
and Allie. Welcome back, Haunties, to episode 265 of Let's Get Haunted. I'm Allie, that's Nat, and we're here to get you very haunted every single Wednesday between midnight to 3 a.m. Pacific time, the witching hour. And we're very excited to be here with you today with another very spooky story. Nat, what should the newbies know about our show?
You should know that if you listen to this show, you are consenting to getting haunted, because that is what our show is about. We do not lie. A lot of shows lie in their title, you know? We take turns telling each other haunted stories. One of us knows what's going to happen. One of us does not know what's going to happen. And you guys don't know what's going to happen either. Now, I just heard that hook. Maybe I spaced for a second, but a rock ship? Is there like a glossary? Like, what does a rock ship mean in this situation?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked, because that is just one of the things that is hotly debated, because skeptics will tell you, no, it's called a rock ship because ancient people thought it looked like a canoe. And then you'll have alien truthers that are like, no, it's called a rock ship because it resembles a UFO. Something that was flying through the sky. So it really just depends on what side of the paranormal spectrum you fall on. If you're new to our show, we're believers. We will tell you the skeptic theory begrudgingly, but we never pick it as our favorite because those are boring.
I am so ready to get haunted.
Well, then let's get into it. Today, we'll be talking about a mysterious ancient artifact located in the village of Asuka in Nara Prefecture in Japan. The artifact can best be described as a large carved stone, which, in the Japanese language, has officially been labeled with the word Iwafune, meaning rock ship. To get to the Masuda Iwafune, visitors climb a short path up the Kaibukiyama mountain. After making their way through the dense trees and bamboo shoots, visitors suddenly come upon an enormous granite monolith carved into a strange geometric shape. Perched near the top of the hill and overlooking the surrounding countryside, the monument appears entirely out of place, as though it had been dropped there from another world. Over the years, Japanese archaeologists and historians have endeavored to find the rock ship's true purpose. Is it a failed tomb, a ritual platform, a celestial observatory, the base for a now lost inscription? Or is it one of those monuments that attracted later stories precisely because its original purpose had already been forgotten? On today's episode of Let's Get Haunted, we'll be looking at everything, from the most common theories to the most unhinged. This week's episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. There are so many things in our society that still have stigma attached to them. Believing in ghosts, hunting for Bigfoot, fantasizing about the Pope like monster, and, most frustratingly of all, talking about mental health. Yeah, we talk about mental health more openly now, but asking for help can still feel hard, and BetterHelp's latest research confirms it. BetterHelp's 2026 State of Stigma report surveyed 2,000 Americans and revealed that while 85% of Americans believe getting support is wise, 74% say society discourages people from doing so. Let's work to deconstruct that stigma together by putting up missing persons flyers for Mothman and taking care of our mental health. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 6 million people globally. And it works. With an average rating of 4.9 out of 5 for a live session based on over 1.7 million client reviews, BetterHelp does the initial matching work for you so you can focus on your therapy goals. A short questionnaire helps identify your needs and preferences, and their 12 plus years of experience and industry-leading match fulfillment rate means they typically get it right the first time. But if you aren't happy with your match, switch to a different therapist at any time from one of their tailored recommendations. Nat's used BetterHelp therapy multiple times throughout the years and thinks it's a great option. You can do therapy from the comfort of your own home, in your car, at the barn if you ride horses. Maybe you're on a nature walk. You get to choose where you experience your therapy. Don't let stigma stand in the way of support. Start therapy today with BetterHelp. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/gethaunted. That's better, HELP.com/gethaunted. And now back to your regularly scheduled haunting. Part 1, The Rock Ship. Natalia, I'm going to send you a video of what this ship looks like, because you had a very good question, which is, why is it called that? And I want to see what you think when you look at this video, if you see what the resemblance is.
Okay, I'm excited to see it. All right, opening it up. Oh, this is not what I was expecting. Just like the still from this video, which is uploaded by @Ancient Mysteries TV 1 year ago, called The Rock Ship of Masuda no Iwafune, Japan. It kind of looks like, do you watch those YouTube videos where it's just like two guys like using their bare hands and like ancient, quote unquote, ancient tools to like build houses and but it's not real. Like, it's very obvious that it's like staged. Yeah, this is what it's kind of reminding me of, this video.
You're talking about those like time-lapse videos, right? Where there's like a guy and he'll go into some place that looks really rural and he's like digging with his hands and creating bricks. Or are you talking about something else?
I think that is one of them. I can't remember the specific channel, but it's like these two dudes, and just based on like the flora and fauna, there's like bamboo and stuff. I would assume that they're like somewhere in Southeast Asia, and then they build like a mansion with a swimming pool, you know, and they're like using their bare hands, to dig a hole, and you're like, there's no way two guys with their bare hands made a swimming pool in like an afternoon. There's tools coming in here, or like different days, but it's good content.
Yeah, I've heard that those videos are entirely manufactured. I'm sure you've heard that too, that it's like not it's like people cosplaying as rural villagers, and it's supposed to be, what's it called, where it's like a fetish for people that are privileged to watch people that look less privileged create things because they feel like it's very mystical. I forget what it's called. I think there's like a specific niche that it fulfills. But that could also be wrong. I don't know. That's just what I read one time and I decided I believed it. But I do know what you're talking about. This could kind of look like that.
Yeah, my kid really likes videos like that. Okay, let's see. We're zooming in. Coming down, there's Japanese signs leading up to it. This is like a POV video of somebody walking up steps through a forest. Wow, this is very atmospheric. I love stuff that's atmospheric. It's like, you know what? Actually, I can't tell you about the rock ship until you like really understand the gravel. Because if you don't understand the gravel, you're not going to understand the rock ship. And no. I don't owe you my time. This is my channel. I'm going to set the scene. So I'm confused. Did someone build this, or is this a natural formation?
It's not a natural formation. It's extremely old. It was built sometime between 538 to 710 CE.
It kind of looks like, it doesn't, to me, it's weird. It doesn't look like something that was built. You know what it looks like to me? It looks like a giant stone that like rolled there through whatever geothermal, whatever. Someone can give us a whole rundown on how that stone got there. And then it looks like somebody, or like some ancient people perhaps like chiseled it out, and there's two giant holes in the top, and maybe it's hollow, but I can't tell because they're walking around it and I don't see a door.
It kind of reminds me of something you would see in Star Wars or something. To me, it really does look like a futuristic ship. And it's interesting because, so this is anywhere between 1,000 to 2,000 years old by archaeologists' best guesses. And those square cutouts in the top look so perfect. They look so angular. It doesn't look like somebody was just hitting a rock with another rock. It looks like it's precisely punched out a square.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks very intentional. I kind of see, I'm understanding more now what this episode is like about, I guess. And I see why it's called a rock ship. For those of you guys who do not have the video access to this episode, yeah, just picture a big rock that some people carved some skylights in the top of.
Yes, exactly. That's a great way to describe it. And then I've just sent you a second video that shows the journey to get to the rock ship. So it's kind of a long video. Don't watch the whole thing. Maybe watch the first 10 seconds just so you can see what it looks like as the guy's getting up there. And then skip to around the 3-minute mark to see him approach the object. And I wanted to show you this video because there is a whole pilgrimage to this object done by Japanese UFO contactees. So people living in Japan who believe that they have been abducted by aliens, this is one of the locations that they will have pilgrimages to, usually in groups once a year, in order to commune with whatever we believe aliens are.
Okay, yeah, I'm seeing it's like a bunch of steps just going through a bamboo forest, going up a steep incline until finally at the rock ship. It's interesting, like the bamboo forest. There's something so mystical about a bamboo forest, you know? It really does feel like a shrine almost, the rock ship. It has like a sacred look and feel to it. I know I visited a few countries in Asia, and it's not uncommon for there to be like little trails out to a shrine or something like that, or like going up steps, and the quote unquote pilgrimage or like the effort of getting up the steps is like part of the spiritual process. Like I remember I went to this one place and I think it was Thailand. Somebody who remembers more than I can tell me, but it had like 13,000 steps to go up this mountain. It takes you like hours to get up there. By the time you get up there, you're just so like cooked and exhausted, and there's like these dragons and shrine and stuff. But that was like part of it, is like you're supposed to climb up those steps and feel that struggle and that pain.
Alien contactees in Japan that visit this location do say that the closer they climb up to the rock ship, the more strongly the energy in the air is like crackling around them, and they can feel it, and it's like it's pulling them towards it. And I did read a few accounts on Reddit where people who visited it, who are not contactees but just are curious, have said, yeah, it's crazy. Like even if there wasn't a trail, I think I could have found it very easily because it really does pull you towards it.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes me wonder though, like, because it looks so much like a shrine, it must be very important and sacred to whomever put it there 1,000 years ago or whatever it was.
Yeah, and another thing that's interesting about it is, you're right, it's not uncommon to have shrines in kind of random places, especially in Japan. But what's interesting is that we're pretty sure this is not a shrine. All of the Japanese archaeologists that have studied it, they say it doesn't really align with the typical shrines because, first of all, it was created pre-Buddhism. And second of all, it has no engravings on it. It just kind of seems like a random thing that was plopped down in this area, and it's completely surrounded by bamboo. And now we have a path, but originally when it was discovered, there was no path. So it was really just in the middle of nowhere. The Masuda Iwafune often translates as the rock ship of Masuda, and it's one of Japan's most unusual archaeological monuments, located in the ancient Asuka region of Nara Prefecture. The structure was carved directly from a massive granite outcrop near the top of a wooded hill. The monument measures roughly 36 feet long, 26 feet wide, and 15 feet tall, and is estimated to weigh between 700 and 800 tons. Its upper surface is flattened and divided by a long raised ridge, while 2 square holes have been cut deep into the stone. Despite more than a century of study, archaeologists still can't say with certainty why it was even created in the first place. The monument is believed to date to the Asuka period, which lasted from approximately 538 to 710 CE, or between 1,000 and 2,000 years ago. This was a transformative era in Japanese history marked by the introduction of Buddhism, increased contact with China and Korea, and the rise of powerful ruling families. The Asuka region served as an important political and religious center during this time, and many ancient tombs, temples, and stone monuments can still be found throughout the surrounding countryside. The Masuda Iwafune is one of the largest and most impressive surviving examples of the region's mysterious stonework. What makes the rock ship so striking is its appearance. Unlike most ancient Japanese monuments, it does not resemble a temple, shrine, statue, or a burial mound. Instead, it appears almost geometric, with smooth, straight surfaces that contrast sharply with the natural landscape around it. The monument's name comes from its resemblance to a large stone vessel, although it was never intended to float and it was carved directly into the bedrock beneath it. Visitors often describe encountering the object as surreal, as the enormous carved block seems strangely out of place amongst the trees and hills of rural Japan. The rock ship is not the only mystery in the Asuka region. Nearby, there are several other unexplained stone monuments, though none quite as impressive as the rock ship. These other monuments include the turtle stone, the monkey stones, and the carved stone known as Saka Funishi. Together, these sites have led some researchers to describe Asuka as one of Japan's greatest archaeological mystery zones. The concentration of unusual stone carvings in such a small area has fueled decades of speculation and debate, particularly because many of the monuments have no confirmed purpose and do not fit neatly into any known categories of ancient Japanese architecture. Local folklore adds another layer of mystery to the landscape. The Asuka region is rich with legends of spirits, sacred mountains, wandering gods, and ancient supernatural beings. Some stories claim that unusual stones throughout the area possess spiritual significance or mark places where divine events once occurred. While there are no specific ancient legends attached directly to Masuda Iwafune itself, its presence amongst so many other mysterious monuments has made it a favorite subject of paranormal writers and mystery enthusiasts. Standing alone on its hillside, overlooking a region filled with unexplained carvings and centuries of folklore, the rock ship of Masuda remains one of Japan's most enigmatic archaeological treasures. So I'm going to show you another rock that is similar to the rock ship. So I just sent you a video and I'd like you to skip to 4 minutes and 48 seconds and keep your audio on so you can hear what the guy is saying.
Okay, I'm starting the video. It's called Mysterious Monoliths of Asuka, Nara, Japan from Ancient Architects.
Another enormous stone in this region is known as Ishi no Hoden, a very unusual rock with a similar style to the rock ship of Masuda. It measures 6.45 meters by 5.7 by 5.45. It has ridges on its side but no square holes, but it's possible that holes are there and are beneath the trees that grow on top of the monolith. Today it is worshipped as a shrine dedicated to the Hinto god Ashiko Jinji. But that isn't the rock's origin, and nobody knows who carved it, when it was carved or for what purpose. This rock is very ornately carved, and some scholars believe that this is a sacrificial altar. Sadly, it's all guesswork, and really nobody knows. So, although it would be good to present some new ideas and search for the answers, these giant megaliths really are a true mystery of the ancient world. The three mentioned in this video are just three of a large number, and there is a strong body of thought that they are earlier than the tumulus period. But even these claims have no supporting evidence.
It's really hard not to adopt that person's accent as just a vocal stem, especially when he's like world instead of world, you know?
Da 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 da. Yeah.
A very unusual rock with a similar style to the rock ship of Masuda. It measures 6.45 meters by 5.7 by 5.
Yeah, I'm like, are you purposely trying to sound like a robot right now?
Yeah.
He's trying to sound like AI. Yeah, my first thought seeing that rock is I was like, damn, that looks like a Japanese rock. And then I went on this journey in my mind and I was like, oh shit, are the rocks in Japan just different than the rocks other places? Just like the people, right? People look different in different parts of the world. And then I was like, nah. And I was like, whoa, wait, they carved it. And I was like, well, the people carved it. I mean, they have the Japanese style is so distinct. It's like modern, clean lines, open floor plans, separated also by clean lines, and very symmetrical, but at the same time, like, oh, let's put a fucking garden in our living room. It's a very distinct style, and that rock really fits it. The rock ship, not so much. The rock ship, the design of it is kind of ugly, in my opinion. But that one is beautiful.
I'm glad you said that, because I disagree with most of the sources I was reading where people were like, well, it's actually not that weird because here's an example of a stone that's also in this region and doesn't it look similar? And I'm looking at it and I'm like, they don't look the same at all.
No, the rock ship is giving like weird supernatural kind of like crackhead vibes, like maybe the equivalent of crackheads of 1,000 years ago, like thought that was their art or something. But that second one I just saw, that's giving like the Japanese Architectural Digest,
Yeah. Yeah, it's giving
that one
the
seems
second one is
intentional.
modern art to me.
Yes.
I could definitely see it at a museum outside, transported
LACMA.
for people. Yeah, LACMA for people to walk around and take pictures by. Whereas the rock ship, you look at it and you're like, this is, I don't know, to me, looking at it feels not artsy. It doesn't seem creative to me. I don't know. It doesn't seem like something, it kind of gives me weird vibes. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no harmony to it. It's got like a very organic shape on the outside with like these hash marks that are sort of like all over the place. Kind of like if you take a fork and like squish it on dough to make those hash marks on peanut butter cookies. That's what it looks like on the outside. It looks like a dough ball that's been like rubbed with a fork to make hash marks, but then in the top are just like these super sharp square cutouts that are also not congruous with the surface of the rock. So it's just a very ugly, poor designed rock. Now, I'm not sure what the purpose of the rock is. Maybe you're going to tell me, actually, hey, the aliens, they're like way ahead of us and all their shit is fugly. Like we thought it was like perfect symmetrical disc shapes. Turns out that's just a bunch of bullshit Hollywood made up. This lumpy crisscross rock looking thing with the ugly skylights is actually what flies really well.
What are you thinking it could be so far? Like, what is the thing rising to the top of your mind that you think is most likely?
I need to see what's in it. Like, can you go inside it? How deep down do those skylights go? Those are only like 3 or 4 feet down?
I'm not exactly sure how many feet, but I know that it's not hollow inside, because the main argument that skeptics have had is like, this is clearly just meant to look like a canoe. And I'm like looking at it and I'm like, first of all, you can't even sit in it. So what are you talking about?
That's the wrong rock shape for a canoe. Canoe rock would be long and skinny. That is not
one
the
would
rock
imagine.
Pick for that. And if you wanted to make that rock a tribute to a canoe, you would just carve a canoe into the outside of it that was long and skinny so that people knew it was for a canoe. Now, I don't know what it's for. Honestly, I'm trying to think. I guess maybe if we're going to go, it is Japan, right? So the other one, the super beautiful, like Nepo baby rock that we saw, I forget which one it was, but the one that looks like Architectural Digest, that one was almost like a giant pot, right? Like they had planted trees in the top of it. So I'm wondering maybe they planted trees in the top of it, put soil in there.
That's an interesting theory.
Or maybe water. Maybe you put water in there and then there was like one of those big like ladle spoon things. Because I know, and now I don't know, look, guys, I'm a little bit of a weeb, but I don't know enough about Japanese religion. I think I'm correct, but I could be wrong. Is it Shinto or is it Buddhism where you do like the water cleansing ritual? You know what I'm talking about?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm the wrong person to ask.
Because you said this was before Buddhism. So my second thought was that maybe those were filled up with water and there was like a ladle, because there's this part of Japanese culture where like you can spiritually cleanse yourself with water. And you like wash your hands like symbolically with it. And so I'm wondering maybe it could be used for that if they filled it with water.
There is a theory that has to do with water, but it's more practical than it is ritualistic. And it still doesn't fully explain the rock ship, I think. But Before we get into the theories, because I did want to spend a little bit of time talking about people who have visited it, because like I said, there's people on Facebook, there's people on Reddit who have all claimed to have gone and visited it, and they just feel this really weird vibe from it. Like I said, some people, especially alien contactees, say that they feel this weird energy kind of pulling them into the object. People who aren't contactees but are interested in the rock go to it and they say, oh, I feel like I could find it even if I wasn't on a path because it's just like this sixth sense telling me where it is. And then there's also some crazy people who have tried to spend the night on the rock ship or in the woods after dark. And I guess sometimes the village does have like a patrol that'll go out and make sure there's no riffraff from tourists at the rock ship. But it is in kind of a rural area, so it's not always being patrolled. And I came across one story in Facebook comments on a post about the rock where this guy was talking about how he went and visited it and he really wanted to stay there after dark. And he was like hiding in the bamboo forest. And then he comes out at night and it's really dark and he's got his sleeping bag and he's going to sleep on top of the rock ship. And as he lays out his sleeping bag on the top and gets inside it, he immediately felt like there was a creature watching him. And in his mind's eye, he thought he could see like some sort of giant insect that was like creeping towards him, but his eyes were shut because he's trying to go to sleep. But it was like this weird vision he had where he felt like there was something getting closer to him in the forest and that it was sort of insect-like. And so he immediately got down from the rock ship and just like ran back to wherever he was staying.
Okay, that sounds like aliens. That sounds specifically like that one grasshopper alien guy from Adult Swim on Late Night Cartoon Network. I don't know. My third thought is that maybe there was something mystical on that. Like maybe the Allspark was on that. You know what I'm talking about, the Allspark?
No, I don't know what that is.
One thing we like to do on the show, guys, is we like to do incredibly difficult to place callbacks to giant franchises, like movie franchises. The Allspark is what they're trying to get in Transformers, the movie. They have to get it from the bad robots, not the Autobots, the other ones, okay? They have to get the Allspark, and so that way they could save the world. And so I'm wondering, what if there was something like that on it? Like, what if there was a big crystal? Some sort of like alien power? What if there was like a statue, like a hologram statue, because it's like Star Wars level text, you know, and they cut it out to take it with them wherever they were going. And then when someone spends the night there, the aliens from wherever they are or whatever the creature is like watching them like, ooh, like I'm psychically connected to this rock, you know, because I used to be a part of it.
Oh, interesting.
And now I can witness what's happening to the rock because I am still connected to it, even though my body or whatever artifact it was that was taken from it is no longer there. How's that for just a bullshit fucking essay, guys? All right.
But you never know. I mean, we don't know how aliens work. They do seem to have favorite spots around the globe. There's Skinwalker Ranch in the US. There's the Bermuda Triangle, people say. There's Rendlesham Forest in the UK. There is Colares in Brazil. There's all these places where people say this is a UFO hotspot and it has been for thousands of years. Maybe there's a portal here. Maybe the aliens come back here for some reason. Maybe they live underground here. Maybe they live in another dimension, but it's this location, so we can't see them, but they're here. And if they're, I don't really understand physics, but like if they're a high enough dimension, they could see us, but we can't see them. What if this is one of those places where the aliens visit for whatever reason? We can never understand their motivations, okay? We can't even know what it is about the rock ship that they would like if we do think that there's a paranormal connection. There was also another story I read on Facebook in the comments section. People on Facebook really are like so much crazier than the people on Reddit, because Reddit is very concerned with being taken seriously, but people on Facebook I think they're drunk. Like, they're just drunk and they're looking through old photos of like the person they dated in high school. And then they come across a post about the rock ship and they're like, yes, it's my time to shine. So there was another person that had commented on it and said that they visited the rock ship during the day and that it was kind of a windy day, but the wind was almost like forming a vortex around the rock ship, which is really interesting because it is surrounded by trees on all sides, but the rock ship itself is kind of in a miniature clearing on this mountain. And they said that the wind was like whipping around the rock ship and that they could hear people whispering in a language that they didn't understand and that it didn't sound like Japanese and it didn't sound like English. They could not tell what it was. And then there were people responding to that person being like, well, maybe there were people further back on the trail speaking a language you didn't understand. And the person responded to them and was like, no, I would know. Went up the trail and then I went back down. There's only one trail up there. It's the same trail down. There was nobody there. So I don't know, but I kind of believe them.
Yeah, I mean, it's just reminding me of Lost, the show. Did you ever watch Lost?
I didn't, because the ending was ruined for me. By the time that I had the proper ability to watch the television, because I didn't have a TV for most of my adult life, by the time that I like had a TV and was interested in stuff like that, I had already figured out what the ending was.
Okay. Well, the ending didn't make sense to anybody, so but yeah, it does kind of ruin it if you know what the ending it is from the very beginning, because the show is all about like mystery. But in the earlier seasons, that happened. There was like a tornado of like people whispering, and some of it's in languages you don't understand, some of it's in English. And that just makes me wonder if it's like an entity, or maybe that rock ship is like whose voices are those? That's what we have to wonder. Are those connected to another place? Is it like when you go to the playground and there's like a little funnel and you can whisper into it and then it goes down through a tube and comes up the other side? Is it like that? Is this like a megaphone? Or is this like a cup tied to a string tied to another cup in a different planet or a different realm or a different layer of the physics bean layer dip pie thing?
When I was younger, there was a really cool playground in Ventura and it had a whale and you could talk into the whale's blowhole and it would come out through the mouth. So like your friend would be down. It was huge. Okay. Like a giant whale you could climb all over, like life-size whale. You would send your friends to the mouth and then you would be on the blowhole and it was very cool. Yeah. So are the aliens speaking into a blowhole in another dimension and it's coming through the holes in the rock ship?
My God, what if that is like an alien's butthole? Like, and we don't even realize it.
It's just them farting, but their farts sound like different languages, and so that's what created the wind.
Oh my God, yes.
Did we solve it?
That makes the most sense.
Hey Haunties, it's Allie in post-production. I am currently editing this episode, and at the time we recorded, I did not have an interview for this episode. However, in the last couple of days, somebody that I had reached out to on Instagram, his name is Eddie, and you're going to meet him in just a second, got back to me, and we did an interview about his trip to the Masuda Iwafune. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and listen to Eddie's experience at this megalith.
I go by Eddie. But I do have an Instagram account that's mostly about fishing history, particularly here in Massachusetts. I do read a lot about it, ancient structures, megalithic structures. And I guess you found me through that picture that I posted.
Yeah. So the way that I found you is that I was looking on Instagram. I typed in Iwafune Masuda and you had pictures literally on the structure.
On top of it.
And I thought that was so cool.
I mean, it was like a chance encounter. I was already interested. I knew about the structure. I am interested in those old megalithic, enigmatic structures, but I'm not like an expert or anything. I went there because I was super curious, and it is super interesting.
Do you mind just restating how you first heard about the rock ship?
Graham Hancock. He is an expert in old megalithic structures and does a lot of work in ancient civilization and all that stuff. And I think he was talking about megalithic structures in Japan, and he was mainly focusing on the ones underwater. He did mention that one, Masuda Iwafune, and then showed the picture. I think that was the first time I saw it, but that's how I came across that place, that rock. Because you don't hear about megalithic structures in Japan a lot. It's like Egypt, Peru, Göbekli Tepe. He's written some books, but he's a journalist, but he does a lot of work trying to uncover what happened with ancient civilizations, because he believes that a lot of our history is misrepresented. Like, you know how there's a lot of megalithics in the world that are kind of unexplained. Like there's Peru, Machu Picchu. There's a lot of things that they don't fit the archaeological record. Anyways, long story short, I listened to him. I read some of his books. Graham Hancock. Not only does he write about it, but he goes into the places. Like, for example, so the reason I found out about this place in Japan is because he's an actual scuba diver, and he was investigating those structures underwater in Japan. There's some really interesting structures under the water there, and so he actually dove down and took pictures. But then in one of those interviews he was doing, he mentioned Masuda Iwafune, however it's pronounced. So when I went to Japan 2024, while we were in Kyoto, I just decided, like, I was just, sitting there hanging around, and I was like, oh, actually, let me see where that thing is. And it was literally like 40 minutes away. And it's such a famous, kind of like cool looking, structure. And I was like, oh shit, I gotta go, because it was right down the street, basically. I just took a train there. But so from him, I learned about it, and then I went on a trip there with my wife. And one day I'm just in Kyoto, and I was like, oh, I wonder where that place is. And it was, really close to where I was. Like, all right, I gotta go check it out. And the interesting thing is there's other structures in that area. There's a few different really interesting rock structures over there. I think there's more throughout the country, but in that area in particular, there's a few well known. I think the biggest one is the rock ship. I don't know how they would make that. It's kind of crazy. It doesn't look very intricate, but when you go up to it, there's like the eyes. They're super deep and they're super straight. It looks simple, but it's kind of like a complex. There's super straight lines, but the holes they're filled with water now. When you go, I climbed on top of it. You can see that they were deep and they're just like super square straight lines going down.
What was the hike like up to it?
I mean, it was really hot because it was it August, and it was in Japan. It's really hot at that time, but it was very accessible. I remember we took a train, and then from the stop, I think we walked maybe 10 minutes, so it wasn't hard to get to this spot. There's even like a drawing of it right at the entrance on the street. So it's not hard to get to it. It's close to some of the train stops, and then as you start the hike, it's not very long. I think it took me maybe 15-20 minutes, something like that. There's some steps in the beginning, but then it's a bamboo forest. It starts like regular woods or whatever the vegetation area is, but as you're getting close to it, it changes to only bamboo, which it's kind of like a cool vibe, like a cool look to it. It's not a very busy area, so it's pretty quiet. There's not a lot of traffic or many houses. You can't, like, once you're in this little wooded area, there's no, like, you can't see anything. Very easy, very accessible. And I don't think it's that busy because, this was summer. It's a very popular time for tourists. There was nobody there. We didn't see anybody. And we were there for maybe an hour. We just kind of hang around and we didn't see anybody coming or going. If you look up on Google Maps, it'll tell you exactly where it is, but it's just literally on the side. It's like a road that kind of goes up, like almost like a ramp. It's a funny looking spot because there's a road that's normal, and then there's this road that kind of goes up, a very inclined, steep road. But then on the side of this road, there's this steps, and that goes into the woods. And then on the floor of this road, you can see the picture of the rock. And but yeah, and there's nobody there. It's not busy at all. It's kind of like not rural, but like it's like a small town, like a really isolated place. But it's just sitting there, like, it's just sitting there in the middle of nowhere.
I think it kind of makes it cooler that
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
so far out there, because
Yeah.
if you were a skeptic and it was in a major city center, you could say, oh, well, this is just to get tourists here. And so what's interesting about this megalith is that, like you said, it doesn't seem busy. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's not like they're charging money for you to go hike up there.
No. Like I said, the other places in that area that have, I think they're famous for mounds. Back then, they would build these mounds and then bury some of the nobles. And then those you can see that there's more of like a tourist. Some of the other big stones are located near those places. So I don't know, maybe they're not related. Maybe, they just built their mounds near some of those structures because they thought it was, sacred or whatever. But yeah, those other places are more, I don't want to say tourists like, more organized. There's more structure. This one is literally just, there's a little entrance and then you hike into the woods. There's not even like, it's dirt trail. It's like literally a trail. And then you get there.
What was your first impression of it? Because I know you said you had seen photos of it before, but what was it like actually seeing it in person?
So when you reach from the trail, you see the front of it. And it's pretty big, but it doesn't look that big. But then when you go around it and you see the back, so I don't know if it's because it's maybe half covered by, dirt or whatever, but, it's the front of it is one level and then the back, you can see how big this stone is. I was able to climb it, you can kind of jump and get to that angle and there's no ropes or anything. It's a pretty big structure. Again, the most impressive things is the eyes and like the perfect square holes that goes down. But even like there's straight lines. It looks cool. It's interesting and makes you wonder like, who the hell built this?
Yeah. Speaking of that, what do you think it was built for? Do you have any ideas or do you have any theories in your mind for what it may have been?
So if you do go back to Graham Hancock, he believes that there has been civilizations before the Younger Dryas, which is the cataclysm theory that 12,500 years ago, there was a meteor impact that, basically destroyed a lot of these civilizations. And so that could be remnants of that. But the rock ship, in my eyes, it does look maybe possible to be made if it was from that date, like the 250 AD. Again, I don't know, but it those are my two options. Maybe it's like religious related, like Buddhists, or they do have some pretty interesting temples, or it's a remnant of something much older related to that other structure that Gran mentioned that's underwater. Because when that cataclysm happened, the sea level rose. So, maybe this was part of that other civilization that was in Japan, again, 12,000 years ago, or even more, right? Because according to many people, something happened 12,500 years ago. What happened? If it was a meteor, if it was sun activity, there's different evidence that shows that something happened. And if it was a global catastrophe, then maybe that rock ship was part of one of the many, civilizations or these people that lived in Japan way back when.
So the top two theories that you're kind of leaning towards are either a remnant of an ancient civilization that was wiped out at some point in the past, or
Right.
maybe a spiritual temple or something religious adjacent to religion.
Made by the people that they assign it to. It would take a lot of work, but that one, it doesn't seem impossible to me. Although the square holes are pretty crazy, but it's interesting that it got lost because nobody actually has any record of what actually happened or who actually made it. So it's just like a lost question mark, right?
Yeah. So speaking of spirituality, some of the tourists and Japanese people that have gone to go look at it say that being near the rock ship or on the rock ship feels spiritual in a way to them. And so I was curious, did you at all feel anything when you were there?
Significant, yes. Peaceful, for sure. I mean, obviously enhanced because there was nobody there. And it's very quiet. The huge green bamboo shooting up, and a little bit more like puzzlement. Like you're kind of like looking at it and you're trying to like figure it out, like why even, like or even like what is it? It looks like a mask. It looks like there's eyes. Some people say it's like a boat. It's very puzzling. Super interesting. I'm not sure about spiritual. Maybe, I mean, you could see, like, again, if it is religious, it's a really cool spot because it's literally like a hill You're kind of hiking up a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it looks like a very interesting place, peaceful.
Is there anything that I didn't ask you about your experience visiting the rock ship that you wanted to add before our interview comes to a close?
No, I mean, I'm just a regular guy that went to see it.
Yeah.
It was interesting, with all these things, a lot of times you just like, you leave with more questions. I was super interested. I am interested in ancient history and megalithic structures and all the work from Graham Hancock, and Uncharted X is another one that I really, really enjoy. He talks about how a lot of these places have two different histories combined, where it's more of an inheritance culture.
Where can people find you? I'm going to put your Instagram handle at the bottom of this interview for the whole interview, but if you don't mind just kind of reading it out loud for any listeners who are blind.
Moroni Saxatilis at MORONESAXATILIS.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Eddie. I know that you were taking time away from your kids' bedtime to be here, and I really appreciate you making the time for us.
Cool. All right. Thank you.
Well, we may have already solved it, but let's move on to part 2, the theories. I was going to start with the skeptic theories and then end on the one that is the believer theory, but I think I'm going to do it backwards this time because I'm not really interested in the skeptic theories. So let's start with the most interesting, which is theory number 4, that this is a sky boat. To understand this theory, I have to tell you another story. In 1803, in Hitachi province on the eastern Japanese coastline, 3 fishermen are standing on the shore cleaning fish when they look up and see something bobbing on the surface of the water. Unsure what the object might be, they stand staring at it for quite some time. As the minutes tick by, the object gets pushed closer and closer to the shore by the crashing waves. Eventually, the object washes completely ashore, and what they see only makes them more confused. They described the object as looking like a giant incense burner, meaning that it was in the shape of a flattened, spinning top, or even, we might say, like a flying saucer. The top of the craft is fitted with small metal plates fastened to the object's exterior. Suddenly, a hatch located at the top of the craft flew open, and a young woman stepped out and onto the sandy shore. The fishermen described her as being dressed in clothing unlike anything they had ever seen before, and speaking a language that they could not understand. The woman motioned toward them, which they took to mean that she was inviting them to enter the craft with her. The men nervously peeked inside and noted strange hieroglyphs, either carved or painted, all along the walls. The woman clutched a sealed, pale-colored wooden box in her arms. The fishermen repeatedly tried to take the box from her, but she firmly refused to let anyone touch or even look inside it. Eventually, the baffled men placed the woman back inside her vessel and pushed it out to sea, where she eventually drifted away into the distance. Dude, isn't that so fucked?
Yeah, but I get it. Like, you're being really weird right now. You know, it's really unfortunate that you're a woman and we live in a society where this is heavily frowned upon, for us to just push you out to sea because you won't show us what's in your box. But at the same time, that would infuriate me if somebody, like, came ashore. If we're living in ancient times, right?
That's the equivalent 1800s. It's not that long ago.
All right. Well, then that makes it significantly worse. Okay. So you're telling me that these were not like ancient people. These were just regular people who
this
could
was
like
1803.
Read and write.
Yeah.
You know what it kind of reminds me of? It reminds me of that one other fuck story where that guy had the cipher, the Beale cipher, where he had like a secret he wouldn't tell anyone about.
Yeah, he had his box full of, like, manuscripts, and don't open it for 20 years, or whatever it was.
Yeah, I remember that one, because that episode infuriated me. Like, just, I hate secrets. I think when you tell someone a secret, and then you refuse to tell it to them, it's actually, like, a form of torture. Like,
I have something interesting to say, but I can't tell you.
Yeah, or like, oh yeah, like so-and-so said something bad about you. Okay, well tell me what they said. I can't, I promised I wouldn't. Or, like, yeah, so I got you a gift, but, it's really special, but it's not gonna be here until Friday. Like, well, what the fuck? Like, now I'm on the edge of my seat, you know?
Right.
Things like that. Or, yeah, just, I don't know why, but like I'm against this woman and I feel bad. Like I'm just one of the people in the crowd with a pitchfork, but I really don't like her attitude. And I understand that she didn't have any lines in this story, but just her general essence was like a stuck-up bitch.
She won't let them see in her box, and we don't know why. But she would let them see inside her craft.
That makes it worse, because it's like, oh, I showed up in a craft. Okay, who shows up in a craft? All right, check out my craft. Yeah, I'm from like cool alien times, but I have this secret box and you can't look in it.
Do we think there was something dangerous in the box?
I don't know.
And that's
but
why
they
she
called
wouldn't
her-
let them open it.
I don't know. That would, oh God, that would just be like a fucking M. Night Shyamalan twist. You know, she was actually trying to protect them the whole time.
Right. And then they just
Yeah, and
shoved her back in the boat.
And she just went out to sea and like blew up like Armageddon style with the box because she was protecting them like a human shield. Yeah, I don't know. Something about her though, I don't trust her.
Well, I guess there is an alternative version to this story. So like I said, to me, this really didn't happen that long ago. 1803 seems like modern, but when people retell this story, they kind of act like, oh, it happened so long ago. And at the time, I guess writing down things that happened was not super common in the region, but this particular story gets written down in 3 separate publications, like 3 separate compilations of manuscripts. So it did happen. Historians agree that something did happen. They don't know exactly what, but the details of the story all remain constant throughout all 3 versions, except for one detail. In some of the versions, they like physically force her back into her ship, or like physically put her back into the ship and then push her out to sea. And in other versions, she just goes back into her ship and the ship like just goes back into the sea.
I don't know, but they fucking called her bluff, didn't they? They were like, all right, have fun by yourself with your box at sea.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah, die, bitch. See you later. Were you looking for help? It's not here.
So they just deserted her though. Like she didn't drown. We just assume like she was lost at sea.
I mean, it depends. If you think that she was just like a random person, then yeah, I mean, she probably died at sea. But if you think that this was some sort of mystical encounter, then she's probably fine.
Or, I mean, yeah, or she went out to sea and then just like figured out how to get to land. Like if you get pushed out to sea in 1803 and you can't figure out how to get back to land and you're in a boat, like, what do they call that? Like the Social Darwin Awards or something?
Yeah, the Darwin Awards. Well, let me show you what this quote-unquote boat looked like, because it doesn't look like any boat I've ever seen.
Yeah, these are like scrolls. These are like calligraphy scrolls, but they have drawings in the middle of them. And the first one is of what I would describe to look like a UFO, but it's sort of unique in that it has, like I said, it looks like a Japanese UFO. Like the bottom part almost looks like it looks like a fan, like those fans that people would fan themselves with at like royal court or something like that. And the top part is round, kind of like a low, oh God, I'm blanking on the word right now, but like when you describe breast implants, okay, there's like moderate, medium, and like low projectile, or like how far it projects off the body. This looks low, like it's low and flat, and then the bottom is kind of cone shaped, and it has God, this is such a weird thing to try to describe, because it's like I don't know how to describe this in a way that people who have never seen this will be able to figure it out. But the top part has a circle that has a bunch of hash marks in it. Looks like maybe it's a screen. And then a circle around the very top of the ship. And then another yellow big square at the front that almost looks like a grill or something. And then the second page is just a wider look. And you can see that next to the UFO, if we want to call it that, is a painting of a woman, and she has a bun and like a very long hair that goes down to almost her ankles, and she's holding a box, and yeah, she looks like a bitch. I still think she's got major resting bitch face. I don't like this woman. Something about her really rubs me the wrong way.
I like her pants. Her pants look like something someone would wear to Coachella. Do you remember that year that those fabric bell-bottom, like printed pants were super popular at Coachella? This was probably like 2014 or something. Do you know what I'm talking about? They were the pants that like I think they were literally just made of fabric, and they had all these crazy prints on them, like mandalas or
Yeah, I had a pair.
paisley.
I remember I wore. Remember that one, the Coachella we first went to? I think I had a big pair of baggy. They were like Billabong beach pants. I think they were called. That's what.
I'm not talking about those ones, but now that you say that, I was talking about the form-fitting bell bottoms. But now that you say the baggy beach pants, this actually probably does look more similar to that. But they're like flared at the bottom.
I mean, I guess that's significant because did women in Japan wear pants in 1803?
No,
actually. I did retain a lot of information about Edo period Japan, okay, guys, because my brain was working during that class that I took. So I do know that during this time, Japan was a closed country, right? Like, there was no insiders or outsiders able to come in. It was like North Korea. They didn't let people in. It was closed borders. I think because the Opium Wars were going on or something, they didn't want like Western culture to, I don't know, like deconstruct their Japanese lifestyle. And so everyone was like literally samurais and wearing kimonos, and like it was super traditional Japan, like what you think of when you think of like the postcard from Japan, you know, like a woman wearing the block shoes in a kimono and with like a little parasol, and a man carrying a sword with a bun and stuff. So to have somebody who's not dressed like that time period would be very significant during this time. And they look Asian in that picture, like the way that they drew them. I don't know if that's just they draw everyone to look Asian, but the woman in the picture looks Asian. She looks Japanese.
She does look Japanese in the drawing. I know, I had the same thought as you. I was like, is it just that it's easier to draw people that you're familiar with? I can't draw people for shit, all right? And so when I draw someone, it's like a big circle head with some hair coming out and 2 dots for eyes. And so if someone was trying to like analyze, wow, is that really what the alien looked like? It would just be pointless, you know? So I kind of wonder that too. Is it just that that was the most popular style of drawing and the thing they were more focused on was the clothing? But yeah, the clothing is weird for sure. To me, it looks more modern. She looks to me like she's wearing bell bottoms and some sort of jacket with buttons going down the front. And to your point, during this time in Japan, that was not what anyone was trying to dress like. So I just sent you 2 pictures of fashion in Japan during the Edo period, which ended in the mid to late 1800s, 1860 something. And yeah, this is what people were trying to look like during that period if they were female presenting.
Yes, very beautiful. Kind of like, if everyone has seen Memoirs of a Geisha, good job. If you haven't seen it yet, you need to see it. And if you've seen it, you need to read the book. I read the book. I cried. It was next level. All right. This is a woman, and she's got like the geisha hair going on, you know, like the wig that's styled really big, and it kind of looks like architecture, like the Opera House in Sydney. And then she's got like a kimono on, and it's kind of scandalous because her kimono's not tied. It's loose and it's flowing behind her, and she's painted white. Her face and her neck and her hands are painted white, and she's kind of like looking off to the side. I think this is a thirst trap, Allie, and it's gold. It's like gilded gold in the background, and there's a trunk behind her that's open with some like silk draped over it. Like, oh, this is my lingerie, and this is me taking it off.
It's working. Whatever she's doing, she looks very chic and very unbothered, which I think is what we're all striving for as people.
So this next one is an illustration of 8 different women. And what's striking about this is that they're all different socioeconomic backgrounds of women. So you have one that looks like she is a peasant, and she's wearing like a straw hat and a kimono that are not very fine materials. And then you have another woman who is wearing a hat and a kimono that looks super luxurious and like, you know, silk and gorgeous. And then you have a crone. It's like literally an old woman. She's hunched over with a cane, and she's just got like a black Harry Potter Slytherin cloak on. And her hair, like, she just fucking gave up. She just put her hair in like a sad ponytail, you know, on the back of her head, and it's just all gray. And it stands out because the rest of the women have their hair is black and tied up, and they either have those like geisha wigs on, or their hair is like tied ornately and their skin is painted white. But I like that they showed this old woman who was like, I don't give a fuck. if I paint my skin white. I'm not doing it today. I'm 80 years old.
Relatable, dude. Very relatable the older I get. I'm like, all right, you get what you get. Some days I'm going to put in exactly 1% effort. And then the days that I put in 99%, it's like a very fun surprise, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a little treat. We can all have a little treat if we're good. So my point is that it's strange. It's a strange event. And this story would come to be known as the Utsuro-bune event, meaning hollow boat. Skeptics think that this may have just been an unfortunate shipwrecked foreigner hoping to be rescued and then being forcibly put back in their shipwreck raft and pushed back out to sea to die. But Japanese folklore had a different take on it. They said that it was an encounter with a god or an ancient ancestor. And modern paranormal enthusiasts think that this may have been an encounter with either a future time-traveling human or an extraterrestrial. But how this relates to today's topic is that ancient alien truthers think that Japan has historically been very important to aliens, and that this encounter in the 1800s was likely the return of some non-human intelligence to a place they had been for thousands of years before. Following this line of logic, if the rock ship of Masuda was not made by aliens, but rather by humans who were doing their best to carve the crafts they were seeing zipping around in the skies, perhaps the rock ship is an effigy to one of the so-called sky boats cited in Japanese folklore.
Oh, okay, well this makes me feel kind of ignorant now, because I was like, psh, a boat? That doesn't look like a boat, you stupid idiot. Like, a boat has to be long and skinny to be a canoe. You know, a boat has a motor and a big old steering wheel, okay? And sometimes a mast and sails. That is a rock with 2 holes cut in it. And now I just feel kind of ignorant because, yeah, if you were living in Edo period Japan and like your only modes of transportation were by water, by foot, or by horse, or that like little bike thing where some guy like has a wheelbarrow and he like pulls you around, then yeah, you might say, oh, that's a sky boat, because that's what you know as transportation, you know, like a sky boat.
Yes.
So
yeah,
I get it now.
But I think it's still worth the commentary on why this doesn't look like a canoe or kayak, why the rock ship doesn't look like that, because the most skeptic of people say, hey, this rock was carved to look like a boat that is in the water, which does not make any fucking sense to me. It does not look anything like a boat that would be in the water. Now, if you get weird with it and you say, no, what they were actually doing is carving the sky boats, quote unquote, that they were seeing in the sky, because we're about to get into a little bit more, but there is a lot of folklore about boats in the sky. Thousands of years ago over Japan, there's these ancient manuscripts and compilation of different pieces of mythology where people look up in the sky and there is what they describe as a boat, which to your point would be the language you would use if you don't have cars or airplanes. You would say, okay, looks like there's a boat in the sky. And so that makes more sense to me, actually, for the shape of the rock ship, because to me, I don't see a long, skinny boat. I don't see a big, fat boat. I don't see a raft. To me, it looks way too strange to be like any of the known boats that existed in Japan during that period. And I actually do think it's more likely that it looks like a sky boat, because we do have some ancient manuscripts and drawings of these skyboats. Like, for example, the one I just sent you, now that one's not ancient, it's from the 1800s, but there's lots of drawings on these old calligraphy scrolls of weird shaped crafts. So I guess my next question for you, Nat, is do you think that this object, the Utsuro-bune event, the hollow boat that the lady stepped out of with the box, do you think that that drawing looks at all like the rock ship, maybe a little bit? To me, I will say I think the panels on top look similar.
Yeah, I was going to say the only thing that makes that rock ship seem otherworldly is the panels carved into the top, because it's not a uniform shape. It's lumpy, it's not perfect, you know, and the rest of that calligraphy drawing is symmetrical and perfect, and the only thing that's not symmetrical on it are the panels on the top. They kind of are ruining the whole vibe of it. To be honest.
Yeah, they look like hatches on a submarine or something.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Hatches on a submarine is a great way to put it.
So if that object, whatever we think it was that was in the ocean, if we don't think it was just a shipwrecked person, and maybe it was some sort of ancient alien or future human coming back to a place it had been before and decided to travel via the ocean this time, then maybe it looks similar to whatever the skyboats were that were flying around thousands of years ago, and somebody looked up and saw a skyboat, saw the panels on the top, or maybe one landed and they got a good look at it, and then they were trying to carve what they thought it looked like into this rock on this hill in the middle of a bamboo forest, and they just did the best they could. And maybe they were just really focused on the panels, because honestly, if I only got a few minutes to look at something I had literally never seen before, I had no language to describe, and then they flew away and I was like, I gotta fucking remember this. I don't have pen and paper, I just have a chisel and a big rock. I think I would focus on the panels. I don't think I would focus on anything else so much.
Yeah, no, that's a valid point. Wow, it's very valid.
However, there are also other skyboats famous in Japanese mythology. The most famous of these being the Ame no Iwafune, which translates to the heavenly rock boat. According to legend, the deity Nigihayahi is said to have descended from heaven aboard a flying boat. Unlike a normal boat, the vessel is described as being made of rock or stone and traveling through the sky from the heavenly realm to Earth. Even stranger, there is an actual megalith associated with this legend in the form of a shrine that contains a giant boulder that local tradition identifies as the heavenly rock boat itself. Skeptics see this as a sacred rock that becomes attached to a myth over time. But believers point out that Japan has had multiple traditions involving mysterious stone boats and wonder whether those traditions preserve memories of something older that really happened. So I'm going to show you what this one looks like. The important part, I think, is that there are multiple stories of these rock boats coming from the sky. And what's interesting about them is some of them are literally described as being made of rock. Like, hey, the god came down on a really big rock and it landed on Earth, and then they were chilling with us for a bit, and then they got back on their rock and went back up into the sky.
Bro, isn't that literally the plot of Dragon Ball Z? They lived on fucking rocks in the sky. They lived on rocks in the sky, guys. Okay? Soft disclosure.
Yeah. It's interesting because, okay, so far we've been leaning towards the rock is just someone carved it to look like a UFO that they were seeing in the sky. But what if it really is the UFO? Because some of these old rock ship stories describe the UFO as literally being made of stone.
Yeah, I mean, if it was enchanted or had some sort of mystical power or science power that we don't quite understand, like maybe they alchemized it somehow, then yeah, if they weren't in it anymore, it would just look like stone. But if they wanted to fly it, they could just get on top of it and it would fly around like a magic carpet.
And some of the myths even say that the gods that flew down on their stones, they left their stones there and then they would leave, and who knows, they never saw them again, but they left the stone there. And one of these rocks that was supposedly left by a god on land has since been turned into a shrine, and I just sent you 2 pictures of it, if you can describe them to the audience.
Okay, so this is like your typical Shinto shrine when you go to Japan. Like, it's a little tiny building, kind of like a tea house almost, and it's got a rope hanging from the front of it, which I presume is connected to some sort of bell, with a trunk in front that has some Japanese writing on it, and then there's 2 stone pillars in the front which look like lions facing each other, and you know, lots of like little flags and lanterns and stuff hanging off of it. It looks very mystical. To the side of it, it's got some like little, I forget what they call the tokens you can take from a shrine that like bring the luck with you, but it's got a bunch of those. And then behind it is just a big ass rock. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. It kind of looks like the thing outside of LACMA, that levitated mass, that just giant boulder, I guess. And it's sort of interesting because if I hadn't known that this was a shrine dedicated to that rock, I would have thought that this shrine was just like in the middle of Yosemite or something, you know, a place where there are just like big granite or whatever the stone is, surfaces everywhere. But knowing that the shrine is there for the rock is like kind of cute.
And it kind of gives some credence to the story because enough people must have believed that this god descended from this stone in order to invest the time and energy and money into maintaining this shrine. They built this shrine around it and then still run it today. And you can go visit it today. It has its own website. And it is known as the memorial site where Nigi Hayahi no Mikoto descended by order of the great goddess of Amaterasu. And so this god came down, descended, got off his rock, chilled with the people for a bit, bounced, left the rock there. And so, I don't know, man, maybe the other rock might also actually be a UFO.
Makes the most sense so far.
It checks all the boxes, and it is my favorite. I do like to imagine just people coming down on pieces of rock, because it implies that they have rocks wherever they are as well. And I kind of like that, you know? We're all from the same material earth.
We did an episode a few episodes ago about pregnancy rituals, and I can't remember the exact situation, but I think there was a story where it was like sometimes like a sad ghost would turn into a rock. They would like turn into a shrine or a statue.
Oh.
And
that sounds familiar.
yeah, I wonder too, like, could it be that the gods were the rocks also?
Damn. Could Medusa have slithered into the area and turned a big ogre into a rock?
Yeah, like let's mix those cultures up. You got the Greek mythology in there, you have Japanese mythology, we need some Icelandic folklore in there, bring in some fucking Vikings, like let's go.
Let's bastardize it. I agree. So I just sent you a YouTube video from the Unexplained Zone, which I believe is an offshoot of Ancient Aliens, and I really like it because the guy with the crazy hair is in it. So if you can click on it and skip to the 3-minute mark and then just watch it till the end.
Check out this square grid on the sides. I mean, this is something that I've seen before in India in Mahabalipuram, and they had something very similar on the side of some of their rocks as well. I can't wait to see the top. Amazing. Oh, man.
Whoa.
Wow, that is... I mean, I've never seen anything like it.
While some researchers believe the Masuda no Iwafune megalith is a tomb, others claim it is meant to depict the skyboats that are described in ancient Japanese stories.
So the idea is that this was the entrance to a Buddhist temple. What do they mean by that? Inside, I mean, where?
It would actually predate Buddhism in Japan, so it wouldn't have anything to do with Buddhist temples.
Right. So what is the actual translation of Masuda no Iwafune?
マスダっていうのはもう地名ですね。
Masuda is the name of a region, and Iwafune literally means stone ship or a rock ship.
Okay.
岩のような硬い、重い。
Yes, it's naturally the Iwafune, or the rock ship, would have come down from the heavens as a vehicle for the gods to descend upon Earth.
So I guess with the combination of those mythologies of celestial beings, this could be some type of representation of one of those flying vehicles that our ancestors perhaps witnessed.
You know what's like, well, hold on. First, I need to get out my thoughts about this Ancient Aliens guy. I actually realized I don't know any of his lore. I only know, like, the meme of him with the crazy hair where it's just like, aliens! And I didn't realize that he's, like, he has an accent. Like, he sounds like he's South American or something. And then he's also, like, an archaeologist. Like, they have him dressed like Indiana Jones. I don't know if he chose that because he's, like, trying to rebrand or something. But, yeah. I am impressed. Okay, so in that video, they were basically talking about how the Ancient Alien guys had seen similar markings on some other, like, Ancient Alien adjacent things in India. And so he was, like, on his propaganda of, like, trying to prove that, like, everything is Ancient Aliens.
Yeah, he's definitely an Ancient Alien enthusiast. Regarding his lore, I don't know much about it either, but his last name is Greek, and it does say that he's Swiss Greek. So, one, I'm assuming his dad is probably Greek because the last name, but I could be wrong. But I just looked it up because I was trying to figure out, like, is he actually an archaeologist? That's a good question. And I don't know if I'm missing something here, but it says that he has a degree in communications and then started working as a promoter for bodybuilding contests and then somehow found his way onto the Sci-Fi Network as
Get that bag. Hell yeah, bro. Get that bag. So that was definitely, he chose that outfit for sure. Then.
Yeah.
He was like, okay, this is going to give me some authority.
Yeah, some
if
credibility.
I look like Indiana Jones.
You guys, one time Nat and I in 2019 went to an alien conference in Los Angeles, and this dude was at the alien conference one of the days. And so we really wanted to meet him, and we were trying to figure out, you know, what time he was going to be there and stuff. And then we realized he was charging $100 for a photo, which I guess makes sense. Look, get your bag, get your money. I'm sure it's exhausting trying to like meet people and everyone's screaming at you and trying to get you to do the meme face. But I was like, absolutely not. I don't like the meme that much.
Yeah. I remember that fondly, and if you guys want to see the vlog of that, you can go to our YouTube channel, Let's Get Haunted, and I think it's like one of maybe the very first video we ever put up.
I think it is. Yeah, I think it's the first video, so go watch that. It was quite an experience because half of the building was for the Alien Convention and the other half was for the BET Awards like pre-show or something. And so it was just like two groups of people that could see each other through
but
like
had nothing
glass.
in common. Yeah. It was like tinfoil hats on one side.
Literally.
Guys, you guys got to watch the vlog because it's honestly so funny. There were some people who were channeling ghosts there, and a lot happened. You need to watch it.
So that is my favorite theory. Now let's talk about the boring theories that I skipped past earlier. So theory number 1 is that this is an unfinished stone casket. Theory number 2 is that this is an astrology platform. And theory number 3 is that it was supposed to be a monument that was never finished and that it was part of a larger pond that no longer exists. So let's go through these 3 skeptic theories, and then I want to hear your opinion, Natalia. I want to hear which one you think is the most likely and or your favorite. So the unfinished stone casket theory. This theory is one of the most widely discussed archaeological explanations for the Masuda Iwafune. According to this theory, the monument was never intended to remain in its current form. Instead, it may represent a massive stone block that was being carved into a sarcophagus, a component for a tomb, or a burial monument before the project was abandoned for some reason. The strongest argument for this theory is the historical context of the region. The Masuda Iwafune sits in the Asuka area of Japan, a place filled with ancient tombs, burial mounds, and giant stone structures associated with elite rulers. During the 6th and 7th centuries, wealthy and powerful individuals were often buried in elaborate tombs that required enormous stone components. Because the region contains many examples of stone coffins and tomb architecture, some archaeologists believe it makes sense to interpret the Masuda Iwafune as part of that tradition. Supporters of the theory also point out that the monument appears unfinished. While parts of the stone have been carefully shaped, other areas seem rough. This has led some researchers to suggest that the work was interrupted before the final carving could be completed. Perhaps the person carving the monument died, or perhaps whoever it was being carved for moved out of the area or fell out of favor. Another argument focuses on the 2 square holes cut into the top of the stone. Some researchers believe that they may have been the beginning of a larger excavation. If workers intended to fully hollow out the stone to create a chamber or a coffin, then the square depressions may have been used to mark the area where carving would continue. The sheer size of the monument also supports this theory, according to some scholars. Elite tombs were often designed to impress and demonstrate power. The Masuda Iwafune weighs hundreds of tons, making it one of the largest carved stones in Japan. Supporters argue that a ruler commissioning a grand burial monument may have wanted something on the extraordinary scale. Some researchers have also suggested that the project may have been abandoned because of political changes. The Asuka period was a time of rapid transformation in Japan. Powerful families rose and fell, capitals were moved, and burial customs evolved quickly. If the individual who commissioned the monument died unexpectedly, lost power, or if cultural practices changed before the project was completed, workers may have simply stopped construction and never returned. However, skeptics of this theory point out that there are significant problems with it. The most obvious issue is that the monument does not actually resemble a stone coffin at all. The square holes are very small compared to the size of the stone, and there is no clear evidence showing how the rest of the monument would have been hollowed out in the first place. Critics argue that if the goal was to create a burial chamber, the builders chose a remarkably inefficient way to begin the process. Another challenge is the monument's location. Most stone coffins and tomb components were found within larger burial sites or near already known tomb complexes. The Masuda Iwafune sits by itself on a hillside. Critics ask why workers would carve such an enormous burial monument in this location and leave no obvious evidence of the tomb it was supposedly meant to occupy. There's also the question of labor. Carving hundreds of tons of granite would have required tremendous effort. Some researchers find it difficult to believe that ancient workers would invest so much time and energy without a clear plan for transporting or using the finished product. If it truly was an unfinished coffin, it would have been one of the largest and most ambitious burial monuments ever attempted in the region. So why are there no surviving records about the commissioning of such a large tomb? Surely that would have survived, since the person the tomb was intended for would have been very wealthy and important.
The tomb thing, it's a good guess, but why would the workers put all those random hash marks on the bottom? That just kind of seems like
Out of
it's
place.
not giving tomb. Yeah, it seems like it would be a waste of time. Unless there was a worker who was just like, you know what, fuck this job. I'm just gonna like make all these hash marks because I'm bored. But physical labor, I don't think so. I think when you're working hard physical labor, you don't like spend time doing more of it. You spend your time like resting or like drinking beer or something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really see it happening either. Let me send you what some of these known tombs from the time period look like, because I don't know. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying that I agree with the skeptics that say it's not likely, because the tombs that we do know are actually tombs don't look like this to me. So I just sent you a website, and if you click on it, I just want you to describe the first image that pops up.
Okay. Wow. No, this is definitely giving the levitated mass at LACMA. So it is a picture of what looks like a tunnel going under a giant boulder, but I can't like emphasize this enough. It like the tunnel has been like dug out underneath these big boulders, and yeah, you can walk underneath it, which is so sketch. I would not be walking underneath that if I was those people.
Yeah, hopefully it's reinforced. And then I'm going to send you another image, because there were tombs during this time period and there were also burial mounds, but the mounds look like keyholes. So I just sent you another link to click on.
Okay, I see it. Wow. So I see the keyhole, but this is huge. Like, this is an aerial photo from way up in the sky. Like, the buildings look like little ants on this. This keyhole thing has got to be like 100 acres. It's like has like a moat around it. Or is that grass or is that water? I can't tell.
Grass and water, I believe.
Okay, yeah, that's beautiful though. That's someone's buried there?
Yeah, several people. And then if you scroll down on that website and get to the 3D renderings of what these keyhole-shaped mounds looked like, they're literally mounds, but the aerial shots make them look more flat.
Yeah, okay, I see. It kind of looks like the pyramids or something that are found in parts of Mexico. Like, it kind of has that sort of architecture. I don't know what you call that, but like the Mayans or something made stuff that kind of looks like this. Yeah, wow. That is crazy to me that people buried people like that. It's just like...
It's impressive.
Kind of dramatic. Yeah, seems sort of dramatic, but I get it. We all grieve in our own ways.
Yeah.
Some of us build 100-acre mounds that look like keyholes.
It's true. Now, do you think the rock ship looks like any of those? Yeah, me neither.
No, it doesn't. If anything, it looks like a button, maybe.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, because there's two little holes that you could, like, thread a needle through. Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see that. So let's just say, in our opinion, theory number 1 is debunked in our very professional... Look, we're just as qualified as that Ancient Aliens guy now that I've read his bio. So I'm going to debunk it. Theory number 2, the astrology platform theory. One of the most common explanations for the Masuda Iwafune is that it may have been connected to astronomy. The theory exists because the monument doesn't look much like a tomb or a building foundation or any other structure archaeologists can easily identify. Instead, it appears to have been carefully shaped with a flattened top, a long ridge running down the center, and 2 square holes carved into its surface. Because these features seem deliberate and geometric, some researchers have wondered whether the stone was used to observe the movements of the sun, moon, or stars. Supporters of this idea point to the monument's orientation. The ridge on top of the stone appears to run roughly north to south, which immediately catches the attention of archaeologists because many ancient cultures aligned important monuments with the cardinal directions. Throughout history, civilizations around the world used the sun and stars to create calendars, track the seasons, and determine the dates of religious ceremonies. Some researchers believe the builders of the Masuda Iwafune may have done something similar. The 2 square holes carved into the top of the monument are another reason the astronomical theory remains popular. Some researchers have suggested that wooden posts or poles may once have stood in these openings. If that were the case, the posts could have cast shadows that changed throughout the year, allowing observers to mark important dates such as solstices or equinoxes. Others have suggested the holes may have supported some kind of sighting device used to track the position of celestial bodies. The problem, however, is that no evidence survives showing what, if anything, was ever placed into these holes. The monument's location does seem to support this theory, however. The Masuda Iwafune sits on an elevated hillside overlooking the surrounding landscape. High places have often been associated with astronomical observation because they provide a clear view of the horizon. During the time that the Masuda Iwafune was likely created, was also a time where Japan was beginning to be interested in astronomy. Despite these arguments, there are major problems with the theory, the biggest one being that no one has demonstrated exactly how the monument might have functioned as an observatory. Unlike famous sites such as Stonehenge, there are no universally accepted alignments connecting the Masuda Iwafune to specific solar or lunar events. Researchers can suggest possible alignments, but none have been proven. Natalia, what do you think of this one? You were saying like maybe something could have been put in the holes at the top, so this one kind of tries to explain what might have gone into the top.
I think that has more plausibility than the other theory about it being like a burial mound. But it's not perfect. And wouldn't there be evidence of whatever was put into the top of it somewhere?
You would think, and that's what they say is they can't find anything that was known to have existed at the time that could have fit into these notches at the top. And, you know, with Stonehenge, we now can look at it and we don't know why it was built originally, but okay, yeah, it does seem to align with the sun and the moon. And so, yeah, we can see how it sort of functions as a sundial as we observe the shadows that fall as the sun sets and rises. But with this one, you can't do that, because there's nothing poking out of the top. There's no tall structure on the top, so we can't even recreate it.
Yeah, and those hatch marks on the bottom, they just don't seem like something that would be on an astrological, like, viewing thing. You know, they feel really out of place, which makes me think that it was deliberate, like it's a statue or it's depicting something that looked that way. Because that's not very Japanese of them to have that very ugly, like, sort of pitter-patter, mismatched stripes all over that. It doesn't really match the Japanese aesthetic that I have in my mind.
The ancient alien guy's point was kind of what you're saying, though, about those hatch marks, which is we see these hatch marks at various UNESCO World Heritage sites around the world during times where countries were not talking to each other. And so that makes a lot of people who believe in the ancient alien theory believe that aliens were coming down and visiting different civilizations around the same time. And whether people were copying what they saw and maybe there were hatch marks on whatever craft they landed in, or whether the aliens were telling them to do this for some reason. It could be one of those or both of those or none of those if you believe the ancient alien theory. But it's just interesting that you see those hatch marks that are not typical of any region. It's not like that's something that can be found on multiple stone structures. It's usually like one structure in a certain country that's a UNESCO World Heritage site, and it looks the same.
Yeah, what's the next theory?
So our last theory is that this monument was linked to a pond. The Masuda Pond theory suggests the giant rock was connected to a large water management project in ancient Asuka. To understand this theory, it helps to remember that the monument sits in a region where water was extremely important. During the Asuka period, rulers were constructing ponds, canals, and irrigation systems to support agriculture and growing population centers. Building and controlling reservoirs was a major engineering achievement and often required enormous amounts of labor. Because the Masuda Iwafune is located near the site of what was once known as Masuda Pond, some researchers believe that the two must have been connected. One argument is that the monument occupies a prominent position overlooking the area where the pond once existed. Supporters of this theory suggest that this location may not be a coincidence, and they argue that the stone may have served as a ceremonial marker connected to the pond's construction. Another argument focuses on the monument's unusual appearance. The Iwafune does not clearly resemble a tomb, shrine, or building foundation, and because it doesn't fit neatly into any known category, people argue it must have just been a commemorative monument. Some researchers have also suggested that the square holes on top of the monument could have supported wooden posts, markers, or decorative elements related to ceremonies associated with the pond. And this theory gains additional support from the fact that water management was a major concern during this period when the monument was likely carved. However, there's also serious problems with it. The biggest issue is that there's no direct evidence linking the monument to any pond. No inscriptions on the rock mention the reservoir. In fact, there are no inscriptions at all. No ancient records describe the stone as a commemorative monument, and no ancient records about the pond describe the monument at all. The connection is based primarily on geography. The monument is near the site of a former pond that now no longer exists.
I mean, I was lost in the beauty of just thinking about, like, this ancient Japan and, like, people, like, constructing all these pretty ponds and stuff. Kind of got lost there for a second, forgot what we were talking about. But I don't know. I guess that's plausible. I'm not really seeing how a giant rock would be part of the pond, though. No, I don't think that's possible, because I feel like if we can tell what the dinosaurs fucking ate, you know, or what the weather was like on the day they died or whatever, we should be able to tell whether or not that was going to be used for irrigation or a pond. Like, they should be able to look at the landscape and stuff and be like, oh yeah, no, this actually makes a lot of sense, because if you look over here, there's like a stream that runs and there's a runoff here, and so what they were trying to do is like have the water come into here, and then these little holes would actually have I don't know, like a water wheel on them or something. I have no idea, but to me, the stone feels sacred. I think if you were going to do a pond or irrigation or something to like manage, you wouldn't choose that stone. And once again, you wouldn't put those hash marks on the bottom unless there was a reason for it. Maybe that used to be buried, that part underneath there, and they like made those hash marks to like give it grip or texture. I have no idea. I don't... You challenge me too much, Allie.
Yeah.
You challenge me too much. I don't know. Which is the answer?
Well, here's another theory that I didn't write down. Could have just been like a crackhead, right? We were talking about ancient crackheads. I don't know. Maybe somebody was doing some ancient drug and they got an idea in their head and they were like, I need to carve this stone. And then halfway through it, they lost interest or they got sober or their wife told them to come home or they died. And so they never finished whatever was in their head that they wanted. But my favorite theory, for sure, of course, is ancient aliens, because why not? And I keep going back to the firsthand accounts of people who have visited this location, and they say it feels mystical. And I guess if you're a skeptic, you could say, well, yeah, but I mean, if you tell somebody that there's a weird object and we don't know why it's there, maybe they're more inclined to feel like it's mystical. But I don't know. I think wind swirling around with ancient languages being whispered upon it, a dude that hid out in the bamboo forest and tried to sleep in a sleeping bag on top of it and then got visions of a weird mantid creature creeping towards him, people saying that they can find it even if they're not on the path because they're being energetically pulled towards it. There's something going on with this stone. And I may not have all the answers, but I think that lady with the box that was in that submerged UFO, I think she knows.
Yeah. She was definitely my favorite character on this episode. I still don't like her. She was a bitch. Great episode, Allie. This was a really fun, like, little popcorn eating episode, and it reminded me of the beginning of LGH. You know, I had never heard this story before. It's very intriguing, and now it makes me want to go to Japan even more.
I think doing this episode made me realize, I mean, we kind of already knew Japan is pretty cool because they've got shrines everywhere, so it feels mystical. There's something about a shrine and its connection to nature that makes it just way more spiritual to me than going to like a mega church does. Like, I don't quite get the same feeling, watching a pastor fly around on a like wire dressed as Jesus than I do going to a remote shrine with like deer all around in the Nara region. So I think, you know, Is it just romanticizing humans' desire to return to nature because we don't really get a lot of that in modern life? Maybe. But I just feel like stuff is cooler. Stuff is cooler when you're in nature, and so this rock is immediately cooler to me because it's in the middle of a bamboo forest.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the rock is a god. I think that's my theory, is that the rock is a god who came down, and then once the god came to this plane, just left his rock body behind and went back to the realm of the rock gods. And that's why those people felt the wind and the voices and stuff around them, because the rock god was conscious that someone was like around the rock, touching it or something, and decided to like communicate with them.
I love that. Well, Natalia, would you like to do our sign off?
BRB, gotta go speak into a whale's blowhole to see if I can get a message back from the other side.
Bye.
Bye.
Welcome to the closing credits for episode 265. This month, we would love to give a warm, heartfelt thank you to our Patreon donors who donated to us in the month of April 2026, letters D through K. And keep in mind, these are our monthly haunties. We have both monthly and annual subscribers to our Patreon. Our annual subscribers get shouted out on their very own episode once a month, and the monthly haunties are divided up into the remaining episodes in alphabetical order. This episode is letters D through K of our monthly haunties who donated to us in the month of April 2026. If you'd like to become a donor and hear your name shouted out on a future episode, head over to patreon.com/c/letsgethaunted, where you will not only get a shout out, but you'll also get access to episode extras, minisodes, bonus episodes, vlogs, personal hauntings, live streams, and much, much more. We also have a very extensive back catalog of content over there on Patreon, hundreds of hours of content, in case you're interested. This week, we'd like to thank Daisy F., Dan the Blacksmith, Danny, Danny B., Danny T., Daff, Delaney, DiGiorno Flocka, Dodie, D. Rose, Echo Rain, Ed B., Elizabeth P., Ellie M., Emile, Emily, 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 Emily B., Emily B., Emily H., Emily O., Emily R., Emily W. Who knew we had so many Emilys? I love it. Did you guys read that children's book about the giraffe named Emily the Giraffe when you were little? I just had a flashback to that right now. Incredible book. Emily C., Emma D., M. Storm, Erica M., Erica A., Phelan Farore, Felicia G., Felicia G., Fenrir U., Fox and Socks, Frank D., Fred H., Freddie F., Fresh Zombie, Gabrielle, George's Mom, Ghost of 7-Eleven, Grandma Painter, Haley C., Haley D., Hannah B., Hannah Ray K., Haley G., Hannah, Hugo A., Hunter C., Hunter S., Hunter the Janitor, IDK Bro Sorry, Ileana RN, Inky Pop Art, I Pet Zombies, Isabel L., Isabella, It's Kelsifer, Ivan L., Yvonne L., Jackie L., Jacob, Jacob C., JDKP, Jameet, Jamie F., Jane, Jasmine B., Jason G., JM, Jen M., Jenna S., Jennifer C., Jennifer L., Jennifer W., Jeremy S., Jesselyn, Jesse H., Joaquin E., John H., Jordan L., Joseph W., Joshua G., Julia C., Julia M., Julie C., Juliet H., Jupiter's Germ, Justin MC, Justine D., Kanan B., Kate M., Cardon 47, Carden 47, Karen H., Karen K., Corinna C., Karina C., Carly K., Carly M., Kat and Alice the Malice, Kat F., Catherine W., Katie K., Katie Cat, Katie P., K to the Win, Kayla M., Kayla P., aka Kayak, Kelsey K., Kelsey L., Kelspiracy, Carrie C., Kindred and Amber, Kittenish Kate, Kitten, Burrito, Corky M., Christy B., Kristen K., Christina W., and Kylie K. Woo! Thank you guys so much for donating to us in the month of April 2026 over there on Patreon. We are so grateful to each and every one of you. We try every year to step it up on Patreon. We are really going hard, trying to make sure that you guys have a ton of variety of different kinds of content, from live streams to vlogs to bonus episodes to Allie's episode extras. I have a really good Allie's episode extra, I think, coming out this month. So stay tuned for that. And we're going to be vlogging my bachelorette party. So you don't want to miss that because it's birdwatching themed. And I don't know, there might be a few surprises thrown in there. You just never know with us. But now it's time for the most exciting part of every single episode. It is time for your secret password, which you will comment on the photo dump for this episode at Let's Get Haunted on Instagram and or on Spotify in the comment section of this week's episode, episode 265. And commenting the secret password successfully earns you up to 2 entries into the end of the year raffle where we give away all kinds of fun stuff, free stuff. Come on. Sometimes we draw 2 names, sometimes we draw 6. It really just depends. We might draw 10 this year. I can't make any guarantees because I do not yet know myself. Without further ado, the secret password for this week's episode is I want to be the next Ancient Aliens guy. See you guys next week. Bye.